This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
He was an aspiring artist, a very talented musician, an entertaining pro wrestling star, an inspiration. Here tonight we pay tribute to a man who was a lot of things to a lot of people. Tonight we pay tribute to Todd Gilbert. I'm Jason Clouse. And over the course of my life, I've done a lot of different things, and I've worn a lot of different hats. But this may be my greatest endeavor yet. On this show, we are going to focus on life. We are going to focus on the basic fundamentals. We are going to focus on the silver lining. Because no matter what happens, no matter what is thrown our way, there is a silver lining. There is a lesson to be learned. Sometimes we just have to look a little bit harder, a little bit deeper for it. That's what this show is all about. Sometimes it's going to be rough, sometimes it's going to be raw, sometimes it may be hard to listen to, but it's something that you need to hear. This just got real.
And now, the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network presents its flagship show, the Clouse to the Heart podcast. Here is your host, Jason Clouse.
And we welcome you to a very special edition of the Clouse to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network. I'm Jason Clouse. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to give this a watch. We are live streaming this across our network of platforms. Most of you are watching this through Facebook. Some have the opportunity to go to our YouTube channel as well as riverside.fm. In just a moment, I'm going to be posting a link in the live chat that if you want to be a part of the show here tonight, that will give you your opportunity to join the show live as it happens. You hit the link, you jump through a couple of hurdles. It lets me know that you're in the virtual waiting room, and then we will bring you on the show. Not really the episode we really want to do, but one that is necessary, one that has to happen. I'm being joined by the incomparable Pope Brandon Brownson, who, brother, it's been a long time. You know, our schedules have just been a hot mess. So with that, our show, the Potato Pals Perspective, has been on something of a hiatus, but we're going to make an effort to get that back on the air. But I say all that to say, you know, it's good to see you. It's been way too long, if we're being honest. And how's things going, man? I know that's a loaded question, but overall, how's things with you?
Well, first of all, the obligatory hello, my beautiful audience. Pope Brandon Brownson here on the Close to the Heart podcast. At long last, once more, I really wish under better circumstances. I mean, like I said before we hopped on, I can't say I'm doing great. I feel like there's a lot of that going on, but, you know, overall, I can't really complain. Things are fine enough in the whimsical world of Pope.
Well, that's all we can ask for at this point, right? I mean, there's a lot of us who are still processing, the news that we heard just a couple of days ago. And
there's definitely a lot of that going on right now, but I feel like again there's a lot of that going around right now. No.
Yeah, you were saying before we came on the air here, this last year has been something of a struggle for you with this type of situation. But I think there is a contingent of us that are going to be tuning in here tonight and are going to be listening to this on the RSS feed when it drops on Tuesday morning. We think of Todd Gilbert, we're thinking of MWO superstar, and that's how he came across my radar. But he had that unique talent that stretched in multiple genres, multiple facets of entertainment, and exploring his own creativity. And I talk about on the flagship show, Pope, you and I have had these kinds of conversations where it sucks that we get so wrapped up in the hustle and bustle of life that we don't really take the time to appreciate those people in our lives until something like this happens. And I can say, as well as anybody, like I try to make a regular point to reach out, if for nothing else, thinking of you, hope you're doing well, this ain't another thing. I talked to Todd just a handful of days ago. And, when I met with the news that I was met with on Thursday, I was just like, this cannot be real life.
Yeah, the last thing you expected. Like, I just saw not that long ago, a picture from his last show, which happened maybe 3 days before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
2 days before he passed, whatever it wound up being. Like, yeah, I hear what you mean. Very sudden. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. And if you did, if you could do me a favor and give me the lottery numbers, I'd appreciate that.
It's one of those things that you're going to remember where you were at when you heard the news. It's unfortunate as it is. You're going to remember what you were doing, where you were at. But that's a testament. And this is what I kind of want to focus on here tonight. Is look, my heart is broken. And I really haven't had my personal breakdown moment. I haven't been allotted that opportunity yet. So I come into this thing here tonight. I'm not desensitized. That's not what's happening. What is happening is I realize what my goal with this here tonight is, and that is to remember Todd Gilbert, not necessarily mourn him. You feel me?
Absolutely.
No, I say there are angels among us in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And I picked up on the fact early on that this dude was an angel among us. You know what I mean? Because he had every reason to just let life kick his ass. And instead, he dug down, did whatever the hell he needed to do, and eventually wound up being the one who kicked life's ass.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to talk about resilience. This dude was the epitome of it. When was the first time you met Todd, Pope?
It would have been the day I started with the MWO, Bunkhouse Brawl 2015. we shook hands, I'm sure, but I had other things on my mind that day, so I can't say I was going out of my way to like, oh wow, become friendly with people. But like, I don't know, there's some people in the locker room where like I remember the moment that we became close, and there's some people where it happened like so gradually that I didn't even like really notice that happened. It's just like, oh, this is my friend, and I adore this guy. And Todd was one of those people. You know, I'm sure that like one of us overheard a conversation that the other one was having about music, because that's something we were constantly doing backstage, talking to people about music, and the connection was made. And you know, it had to have happened quickly, because I don't remember a time where like Todd and I weren't friends that I was in the wrestling business, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was one of those guys who I clicked with really fast. And you know, before I lose the thought, you know, wrestling is one of so many things that Todd was involved with. You know, you want to talk about the resilience of Todd Gilbert. If you want to see him do something, all you had to do was tell him that he couldn't. I was, just before I joined this call, I was actually in the chat for another Twitch event of some of Todd's friends remembering him, and it was Todd's friend Adam. I don't believe I called his last name, and I feel terrible about that. But like, he knew Todd since he was 6 years old, and just hearing him list off the stuff that Todd did just because people said he couldn't. You say I can't walk, all right, I'm gonna start jogging. You say that I can't become an actor, okay, I'm gonna become the lead in a play. You say I can't wrestle, cool, I'm gonna get in the ring and start working matches. You say I can't be a rock star, I'm gonna learn every instrument on the stage. You say I can't have kids, fuck you, I'll have twins.
So,
like you said, Todd Gilbert had every reason to just let life kick his ass, and he kicked life's ass so hard. I wish so dearly that my friend would have got more than 44 years on this earth, but he lived more in those 44 years than several 100-year-old men mashed together into some kind of weird man homunculus. And Todd would have probably kicked that thing's ass.
he, the way you just laid that out, I mean, especially tying it off with the twins thing, that
Cannot take credit for that. That came directly from Adam's line. The fuck you, I had twins. I'll have twins. That Todd's friend Adam said that, and I figured that was too beautiful of a line to only keep on one memorial to my friend. That describes him perfectly. You say I can't have kids, fuck you, I'll have twins.
You know, and when I started thinking about Todd and everything that I've known about him, after I had gotten the phone call, and I knew it was going to be something, just the way the initial message came through, you know. It was actually Sean that I called, or he had messaged me, call me before you get on Facebook. And I was like, Bill did?
Yeah, Bill.
Okay.
Wow. For
Yeah.
those who are MWO fans.
You see, and I have to keep in mind, like, there's going to be a variety of different people that are watching us. Like, you and I know him, you know, a lot through him.
Yeah, I'm trying to be mindful of that. You know, usually I'd say I'm pretty good at that, but my mind is elsewhere today, people.
No, straight up. But that's a testament to his, what's going to wind up being his legacy. You know, he impacted people in so many different realms, on so many levels of entertainment. And the one thing that I hear more often than not is what a good friend he was.
Oh,
You
God.
know, once he got a hold of you, or vice versa, like it would take a significant force to break that bond. You know, and I know there are probably people that hear that take exception. You know, well, that's not how it was with me and him. I don't know, man. We all have our asshole sides to us. I'm not going to sit here and say that every interaction I've ever had with the man was smooth sailing and sunshine and rainbows. It was not.
Oh,
But
yeah,
there was always that level of respect. You feel me?
absolutely.
And I know that there are people who have gone on social media and made some sort of bullshit remark about karma and things of this nature. Like to me, if you couldn't get along with Todd Gilbert, there was generally a bigger problem on the other side of the equation here.
A way that I have described Todd to several people I have talked to about him that did not know him was that me and Todd got along with all of the same people, but much more importantly, me and Todd hate all the same people. Everyone that I dislike, Todd also dislikes. Some of my favorite conversations I have ever had with that man have just been me and Todd shitting on person Z. Right? And in my humble opinion, that was always earned. We dislike the same people for the same reasons, Like, yeah, you really had to be a piece of work to get on Todd's bad side. But, like, man, if you were on his good side, it's something I was saying in the Twitch chat that I was just in. There is no one that would root louder for you. Like, Todd wasn't one of those cheer from you quietly from the sidelines type people. He didn't know how to fucking do that. He was so vocally for you, supporting you, pushing you to get outside of your comfort zone and try new shit. It's cool. And Todd having the fucking story that he did. If Todd was telling you that you could do something, yeah, you believed it. But the story that he had, with the person that he was, with the enthusiasm that he contained, the optimism that he held, if Todd believed in you, you believed in yourself, at least for as long as you were sitting there bullshitting with him. Like, Todd inspired me to make some of the coolest shit I ever made, like, music-wise. He inspired some of my favorite moments on commentary. Like, he pushed you to be better. Something the world needed more of.
That's for sure. That's 100% for sure. You mentioned, I'm sure we're going to be bouncing back and forth during the course of this thing. And again, I would like to remind those who are watching us, specifically through the Facebook feed, there is a link in the live chat. If you want to be a part of the show, share a story, share a memory, just pay your own tribute to Todd, you are more than welcome to. Just hit that link, jump through a couple of Riverside's hurdles, and it will alert me that you are in the waiting room. And I will click that button and bring you on the show. So, like I said, we're going to be bouncing back and forth to the different things that Todd put out to the world, and as an extension of himself, of his talents, because like the dude musically is there's no shit and reason why he should have been that good. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
But he found, you said it perfectly earlier, I can't play a play the guitar, I'm going to play every instrument that is on the stage. And this is one of those aspects to my relationship with him that really means, if I dare say, more to me on a professional level than what we did working in the wrestling company. And it's this picture right here that started it. Now, the story behind this is, this was my first ever live stage show, my one-man motivational show at Fisher Hall in Frankenmuth. And I got the stupid-ass idea, hey, why don't I break it up a little bit and do a song in the middle of the show that was kind of ties in with what I was talking about. Now, I had gone to Todd, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing on January 5th, this annual thing? He's like, I'm there. Then he asked, what do you need? He didn't ask what was needed first. It was, you need me on this day. I'm available. I'm there. That's the way it's always been with him. So I explained to him, look, I'm going to do the show in Frankenmuth, and I want an opening act, and I want you to be my opening act. And without hesitation, agreed to it. And then I got the idea of doing the song midway through, and I went over to his apartment and he worked with me for a few hours, trying to get it right, because I'm not a fucking singer. You know what I'm saying? Do you hear this voice? Does this sound like it's something that needs to be singing? But bless his heart, he was so patient with me. And we worked out the whole thing, and we did it at the show. And I will always remember how truly special that was for me. Because he believed in what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. Had never done a stage show before. But he believed in me and wanted to be a part of that, because he thought it was going to be something cool and special, and it was. He did it again in Lapeer, except I didn't sing that time. He was my opening act, and I made sure to support him in his endeavors as he did, me with mine. And that's just, it goes to show just that mutual respect, and we were each other's cheerleaders. When we didn't think we had anybody else in our corner, we knew we had one another, just because we were cut from the same cloth. You're marked the same way.
Oh, yeah.
So you can understand wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I had that exact same relationship with the guy.
Oh, well, I'm just checking out some of the comments here on the Facebook feed. Looks like Ray Jackson is with us. Chris is with us. Eric Cherry is with us. If you want to be on the show, hit the link that is towards the top of the live chat. And
God, I want to sit here and talk shit about Ray Jackson so bad, but this is
Go
not
ahead.
the menu for it right now.
Go ahead and talk shit.
This is not the place to talk about.
We put the side.
This is not the place to talk about the well-founded rumor that Ray Jackson ain't got no nipples.
Oh my goodness. Yep, Eric was at the Lapeer show. Eric is something of a karaoke superstar, Pope. Did you know that?
I did not.
So yeah, he loves him some karaoke. That's for damn sure.
Eric, if Cherry Bomb isn't part of your repertoire, huge missed opportunity is all I'm saying.
Oh man,
That would kill.
I want to focus a little bit. I want to focus on what made him so special in the wrestling space. because again, that was what brought him to the dance. You know, that's what brought him to my radar. He had come to me. We were running the city market at that time on Dort Highway, and he had come to me and asked if he could run a couple of DDP yoga classes for the roster. And you know, he was so confident. He was so matter of fact. And he was explaining to me how it worked for him, and he was now a certified trainer and this, that, and the other thing. And he thought it would work well with, you know, a roster full of wrestlers, because the program itself was created by a former professional wrestler in Diamond Dallas Page, for those who are out of the loop. But hearing his story and just seeing him in front of me, I'm like, you know what? Give it a shot. Go ahead and give it a shot. We'll see if, you know, if there's any interest. Great. Because I think he was trying to start up his own like regular class, and he was trying to get, you know, his footing, you know what I'm saying, before really putting himself out there, which I can appreciate wholeheartedly. But bro, it didn't take long before he was on the phone with me. How can I be a part of this? And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to wrestle. I'm like, of course you do. Of course you do. Why wouldn't you say that? And he did follow up. He's like, but I understand, you know, why that may not be a thing, but you've got a great group of guys, and I want to be a part of this.
Can I just point out a quick sidebar that I'm not sure I've ever shared with you?
Oh, please.
I remember I have a lot of very vivid memories of like the day that I joined the MWO. But one of my favorites that I'm not sure I ever shared with you, I remember like very early on, like, you know, you asked if I could do commentary, and I did the trial, and I remember you looking pretty, for a man who does not ever look impressed, looked mildly impressed in the moment. And I remember you asking me, like, so what would you like to do here? You know, and I just, you know, I'd like to do this. I'm not really interested in wrestling. I remember the fucking smile on your face when I said that. You were smiling from ear to ear when I said, I don't really want to be a wrestler, but that's something I remember very fondly.
Everybody listen, it takes a small army to run a wrestling show. And it's not just wrestlers, you know what I'm saying? It's not just referees. There's a whole group of people that have to kind of run the shit behind the scenes. So yeah, when you're, you know, anytime that anybody came to me and is like, I want to do announcing or commentary, well, easiest thing in the world, not a problem.
Buckaroo, come take a seat right here. Would you like a glass of sarsaparilla?
Todd came just before WrestleRama 21, which was at the Birch Run Expo Center. What was the Expo Center? And I had him run the production on that night, because he also expressed his talents in video production and how he could really boost our online presence, which, hey, yeah, 100%. So
sidebar for that in a minute.
I have pictures of him at the Expo Center running the camera, but it wasn't long before he was, you know, that wasn't enough. You know, what else can I do? You know, you mentioned commentary. We put him on commentary. He wanted to be a manager. I'll give you all the time you need for all the sidebars, pal. And then eventually we did work around and got him into the ring as a wrestler. In fact, my last wrestling match was doing the favors for Todd Gilbert at Tricker Slam. That's the last match I had wrestled in. So please take us on your sidebars.
So I guess I'll go for the commentary one first because it's a much quicker one. Some of my very favorite memories are on commentary were with Todd. But there was a point where we were sitting there talking on Messenger, and we just had this like honest heart to heart where we're like, look, I don't know if we can keep doing commentary with each other because we're just trying way too hard to make one another a corpse. That was we just tried to make each other laugh, and it was always fantastic watching the other struggle. It would be something very dramatic going on. One of us would slide in an inside joke. The other one's just sitting there like Beavis and Butthead in the back of class after hearing penis. Going back to the editing thing, I feel like this story has to be told somewhere. So we'll do it here. When Todd had started doing the editing thing, this was right around the time that What Culture Wrestling was like really picking up on YouTube, right? That was like, when like all the Cultaholic guys were there, plus like Adam Lapierre and shit, right? And one of the reoccurring bits on Cultaholic was that they would exclusively refer to their editor as Dickhead. And because Todd was our editor, there was a good half a dozen guys who would exclusively refer to Todd as Dickhead, lovingly. You know, welcome to wrestling, boys and girls. But it has been so weird talking about Todd for the past several days and not referring to, oh yeah, my friend Dickhead.
Something tells me that's the way it's going to be for a while.
And something tells me that the fact that I'm going to struggle with that is cracking Todd the fuck up.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoever that man is, he's having quite the chortle at my expense right now.
He was just when you get into a business that has so many different personalities that you have to navigate to try to make them cohesive, right? In my time as a promoter for a wrestling company, which spanned 28 years, I cannot tell you exactly how many men and women walked through the doors of that organization, how many stayed, how many made that indelible impression, that indelible impact, created a legacy. It takes extraordinary traits of a human to stand out and to make that kind of impact, not necessarily just physically, but who they are to their core, who they are as a person. Now, nobody's perfect. Nobody is liked 100% of the time. But there's always that level of respect. And I think when I think of Todd, especially in the wrestling space, it's not something that he commanded. It just happened. Because whether it's fair or not, people are going to they're going to form an idea or a low-key judgment based solely on physical presentation without giving that individual a nanosecond to explain or express or anything, address the elephant in the room or what have you. But once you got to know Todd and you got to see what really made him tick, you couldn't help but respect him. He, from what he had told me, he had gone to other wrestling organizations looking to get a foot in the door, and nobody would take a chance on him. And that's kind of what our organization was all about. It may not be exactly what you thought it was going to be, but I'll give you an opportunity. And man, did he make the most of it. His faction, the Uprising. He had Bill, he had Reaver. Wasn't Zero Briggs was in that? Yeah. What made that faction work was Todd's presence. And that's saying something, because you had the talents of Reaver, you had the talents of Blackwell. They stand out, on their own. But to have that perfect individual kind of leading the charge, the mastermind, the manager, the classic manager. That's what I loved about it, because it was a throwback to when managers were a thing in wrestling. And that is something I miss so much in today's product. There is not enough managers, the Bobby Heenans and the Mr. Fujis and the JJ Dillons and all these, like, where is that new crop?
Yeah,
in MWO.
I know what you mean.
Huh?
Yeah, the Genius Lady Poffo. I know what you mean.
For Christ's sakes. Of them all. Well, I guess it could have been worse.
Look, man, I'm the guy who unironically loves the shit out of Duke the Dumpster Drozy. What were we expecting here?
No, fair. 100% fair. His work with the as the commissioner, he did a fantastic job in that. We've mentioned his commentary, and let me tell you what. If you go back and you watch Trick or Slam 2019, I think it is, you can go over to the Orion Neighborhood Television YouTube channel. The last two matches on that card are commentated by Todd and my brother.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. I attempted last night to go back and watch some of that. I just pulled the video up and just seen them both sitting there, and I'm like, nope, not fucking happening.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna want to do that one. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that one for a hot minute. I tried going back and listening to a podcast that Todd and I had. We did a show for a hot minute called Pope and Todd's Traveling Circus. The theme song for that is one of my favorite things I've ever been involved with. Oh my god, the theme for that was so good. But I tried going and listening to an episode of that, and that's just not gonna happen for a minute. I'm so thankful that I had those conversations to go back and listen to, because I think that those were the last conversations Todd and I ever had, where like we heard each other's voices. I'm so thankful to have those. I'm not fucking ready for it, but I am so thankful to have those. As a quick sidebar, though, the last interaction that I ever had with Todd, it would have been in February, I think. And he had just started a Twitch channel because, of fucking course, he was already doing everything else under the sun. Why not throw a Twitch channel on there? Where he was doing, like, drum covers and stuff like that, right? Like, sort of picking a song and drumming along to it. And I sent him a link, and I said, buddy, don't look into it. Just click it and play. I promise you know the song. And after spending about 10 minutes convincing him that I wasn't sending him anything that was going to get him in trouble on Twitch, he eventually clicks the song. And it starts off as Crocodile Rock by Elton John. You know, everyone knows Crocodile Rock by Elton John.
Sure.
But there was a curveball thrown in there because the lyrics were not Crocodile Rock by Elton John. The words had been removed and replaced with System of a Down's Chop Suey. And for the chorus, you know, they took that when angels deserve to die. And Todd, bless his heart, he's sitting there playing the drums. He has no idea that this is happening. From the moment Serge Tankian's voice started until the end of the song, he is laughing hysterically, but to my man's credit, he doesn't miss a fucking beat. He does not miss a stroke of his stick. He doesn't miss a single snare roll, cymbal hit. Plays the song flawlessly. I wish that the entire video of that still existed, but thankfully, there is still a clip from that stream of when that first chorus hit, and just the look of confused delight on his face. I wish to God that was not the last time I got to interact with my friend. But as far as last interactions go, man, that's a pretty fucking good one.
Can't really top that. You know,
I could. He could still be here, but, you know.
Well, I mean, granted. And that's what we all want. It's all what we all wish for. You know, and it's just, it's a complete and total mindfuck that when I am talking about him, I'm now having to refer to him in past tense.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm having the biggest problem with, because I talked about him all the time. I used his story as an example all the time, not just on the podcast, but in real life conversations. Oh, you think you've got issues? You think you're facing insurmountable odds? Let me tell you about this guy and what he did and what he overcame. So don't give me your bullshit about it being too hard or you relying too heavy on that word can't. This dude took can't, wadded it up, and threw it back. That absolutely not was that going to be a thing.
Fuck you, he had twins.
He really did. He really did. Let me go ahead and say again, just for those who are joining us here in the last couple of minutes, if you want to be if you want to be a part of the show, if you have a memory, if you have a story you would like to tell, your thoughts, your opinions on Todd, there is a link at the top part of the live chat on Facebook. on the Facebook feed. Click on that, jump through a couple of hurdles, and it'll bring you into a virtual waiting room. And then we will let you on the show. You guys collaborated on music. You worked together in professional wrestling, in the commentary booth primarily.
Did a little acting together.
Explain that.
The last project that we ever got to work on together, Todd had a friend named Jim. I am terrible with last names. I apologize, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. But during lockdown, he had the thought of doing like a Twilight Zone episode themed around like a Zoom call. And he went to Todd to one, see if Todd would be interested in being involved with that. And fucking course he did. It's Todd and it's something to do. Todd wanted to do everything. But also to see if Todd knew anyone who would be interested in that. And he got a hold of me. And I think it was over the course of like 2 sessions on Zoom that we got all of that recorded. Just one more thing that Todd did. He was an actor, and if he thought you would be good for something, he would get you involved, He wouldn't hear any like, well, I'm not sure if I'd be a good fit for that. Fuck that. I think you'd be a great fit for it. You should do it. Because who Todd was. He did everything. I have no doubt in my mind that Todd was working on nuclear physics and figuring out the cure for world hunger as we were speaking.
Oh my gosh.
You bring up that we got to work together in wrestling. As much as I loved doing commentary and everything that we got to do in MWO, I think that my favorite wrestling memories, as far as like what we got to do together, were in IWE. Because for a while, he got involved in the never-ending soap opera that was me and Mike Goodman shenanigans. I remember the thing that no one ever thought happened with Simon Page. I turned heel because there was a match, like a big old ruckus, where he accidentally cracked me over the head with a cookie sheet. So a few months later, I very intentionally cracked him over the head with a cookie sheet. Became like one of the most hated people in IWE for a couple of months there. What really stuck with me was I did not hold back on this swing. I folded this fucking cookie sheet over his head, right? Because I knew that he would be upset with me if I didn't. You know what I heard when I got backstage? He comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, you could have hit me harder." And to reinforce that, I'm again on this other live stream right before I hopped on this, and I tell that story, and Todd's friend Adam goes, "I remember him being really upset with you for holding back." And I'm just sitting there like, "But I didn't. I'm just kind of a bitch." And I don't know if I ever got to tell him that because I couldn't, like... It's hard to look a man in the eye and say, "Look, man, I'm a bitch. I need you to lower your expectations." But that was Todd, man. That was Todd. The man was fucking insane in the best way possible.
We have a guest that's going to be joining us here live on the Clouse of the Heart podcast. Hello, Laura.
Hi, guys. How you been?
Well, we're just doing the best we can here. We're just kind of kicking back on a Saturday night and telling stories about Todd Gilbert.
Yeah, I garden him last week, but I'm all right.
I know like lot of us got the same story. Jay, when I saw your video Thursday night, I was like sitting there going, yeah, that feels exactly like how it was. It's just like how can you articulate, kind of like what it all went. I got home from work on Thursday. I saw BD3's post about Todd passing, and it didn't feel real. And it was crazy. And then I got to go thinking back. I'm like, man, I haven't talked to him since November. We used to talk almost every day. So, but you'll have to excuse me. My voice is all blown. We just got out of the Toledo ball I gave.
No, you're coming through perfectly fine. Did they win?
No, unfortunately not. They got their asses kicked.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but
Kill the other team. They won't win again.
It was a good night overall. But by the way, everybody is here. Say hi.
Howdy, Marinos.
well, Laura, we talk about Todd Gilbert. We've been talking about what he's done, in the music scene. He's launched several albums. We just found out that he, dabbled a little bit in acting and then his art projects as well. But we've been focusing a lot, obviously on his time in the wrestling business, with his time with the MWO and with IWE. You worked a lot with Todd, especially within the MWO space. What are some of your favorite memories of working with him?
Oh man. It's so funny because when I started passing the word around into the DDP yoga family about everything, when I got to writing about him, my favorite thing that I said about him was that Todd spent a lot of time proving a lot of motherfuckers wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people looked at Todd and go, there's no way he can do it. And Todd knew his limitations without a single doubt. But thinking back to what we did with, I forget which show it was, but it was an outdoor show. It's right outside of the One Market. And I got to chop him a couple of times. And there's a picture of us backstage and my handprint right here on his chest. And he wore that sucker like a tattoo. Like, he was so proud of that. And to me, that was just like, it was one of the coolest moments for us. And
that's what I should have done. I should have left a handprint on his fucking head.
I was tempted because I've done a lot of stuff, especially with Ben. But like with Todd, like, he would come to me and he'd be like, you know what, let's do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, calm down. We know our limitations. He wanted to push the bar just a little bit sometimes. And I love that about him so much.
Yeah, that's the source of our contention, is when he would come to me, I have an idea. That's how it always started. I have an idea. No. Look, I'm already prepared to dial it back 80% because he's coming at me at 110. But I let him make the pitch.
There's maybe 3 people that can do a Canadian destroyer in this company, and none of them are involved in this fucking match. Let's maybe dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Michael in his heyday, but no. But no, yeah, just like I said, that one picture of him and I backstage and whatnot, and it's so funny because people tried to rip that shit apart. And both Todd and I looked at it going, no, you don't understand how much that meant to us to be able to do that one particular moment. And he sent that, I know for a fact he sent that to Dallas. And Dallas is like, bro, yes, that is so awesome. And to me that, making that happen for him is the best thing. Sorry, we just hit the freeway.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him telling me about a conversation that I guess he had reached out to Dallas to let him know that he was getting ready for his first match, and I think this may have been the 8-man tag at WrestleRama 22. And no, it was before that. I think it was one of the outdoor shows. But he told me he had reached out to Dallas to let him know that he was preparing for his first actual match. Not going into detail what that was, that he was going to be protected and all this. But he had told me that Dallas told him, do not do it. Do not do it. You've come so far.
Was afraid for him, yeah.
You've come so far. Don't fuck it up. One bad bump and it could be done. And he respected Dallas Page's opinion so much, and justifiably so. The guy is, if you know anything about wrestling, you know what a big goddamn deal Diamond Dallas Page was. 3-time WCW champ.
Yeah.
He's like, the dude's done it all. The beacon of positivity. And, created this program that was a huge factor in Todd being mobile, if I can be honest here, right? Because he just respected him so much. He could have very easily had taken Dallas's word and be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this. But he didn't. Instead he used that to light that fire under his ass, because he's like,
oh yeah.
The one guy I looked at, he said, I can't.
Yeah, and he knew that he had those limits. He knew he needed to work around what he was limited by, and while he wanted to go balls out, which who the hell of us doesn't want to do that stuff? But
me, I'm a bitch.
Todd knew. What was that?
Me, I'm a bitch. I probably don't want to take half the shit that Todd was suggesting.
Off a chair shot at one point. I was like, oh no.
We can take a chair shot. Case in point.
So,
than most of us.
Pope, where would you be at with a stop sign spot?
Oh God, completely unrelated story, but I actually, in a backyard show, watched the sign spot go wrong. One of my buddies wound up with a giant gash across his nose, had to go get stitches during one of Bam Grizzly's birthday parties.
He pulled a Tyrion Lannister with a stop sign, right?
It wasn't specifically a stop sign, but it was something very similar to, I can't remember exactly what it was. So, as long as it's not that one, yeah, I'll probably get hit with a stop sign. It's funny. Man gets hit with stop sign. That's comedy gold. Mo Howard would do that shit.
Right.
For real. I mentioned that because that's probably my favorite spot from what ended up being my last match. Was with Todd at Tricker Slam. Somebody brought a stop sign to the show. And I don't remember
questions. We just go with the flow, okay?
Look, I went under the ring to pull out something. And I'm like, why in the hell is there a stop sign here? So as we're on the floor, and I always made sure Todd was going to be good, and I had the stop sign. He comes charging at me, and I held it up. I'm like, stop. And he did. And then I hit him with a stop. No, on camera, it doesn't look that vicious, but man, it was a thud. You know what I mean? Like, I felt bad. Like, shit. Hope I didn't just rattle his brains, but looking back now, I'm glad that if it was going to end like that, it was with him and doing the favors for him, even though it was written as a part of a storyline that was going to take me into a different feud. But, you know, he wanted that match so bad, and he wanted to dedicate it to Jeff. And because Jeff's passing messed him up pretty bad. You know, they had a real unique bond.
Oh God, yeah.
And I didn't want him to do it, but I understood why it was so important. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. Because I had approached a couple of other guys, you know, hey, here's an idea. And they didn't want to do it. And I wasn't going to force them, because if I forced them, that would have compromised the safety factor in the match. They wouldn't be as invested, or it would wind up just utterly looking like shit. And I'm like, you know what?
And I remember talking to him about it. He was like, I don't want anybody else but Jason. That was a big thing for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, he knew I'd take care of him. You know, and I would.
Oh yeah.
And we planned that match out to, you know, it was exactly what it had to be. Showcase his strengths, hide the weaknesses. And that's what we were able to do, especially when you have something like a last man standing match. You don't have to worry about doing a lot of collar and elbow tie-ups and, you know, drop down, take down bullshit. You know, it's a fight. It's a street fight, you know. And
Exactly.
we had Randy Schilling as our ref, which that was important to him and me too. You know, I have always loved Randy. Just not another guy. Very few I have more respect for than Randy, especially in the wrestling space. Like, that dude is just class act. It always has been, always will be. So it wound up being somewhat poetic. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's just it's just crazy to me that I've said it once. I've said it 100 times at this point, that this is that this is real life, that we're sitting here and doing a tribute show, when I could remember
talking about him in the past tense. It doesn't seem like it should be that way.
Right. No, it shouldn't be. You know, I think you made mention of it, Laura, but how did you find out?
BD3.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Billy. Yeah. I saw the post on Facebook, and I kind of I had a moment where I was like, wait, what? And I went over to his Facebook, and I started seeing tributes from his other friends posting up, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, can somebody give me an idea of what went on? And I went into, you know how I am, Jay, when it comes to certain things, when it comes to this, everybody will message me if something horrible happens, or I had Brittany, I had Ben, I had J Platt, I had Crow, and a bunch of others going, what happened? Because they know, I was basically the mom of the locker room. So they knew that I would have some sort of idea. I didn't know what happened until Billy had said something in amongst his comments as to what the cause was, and then all of a sudden it made sense as to what had happened, because Todd was he made it no secret that he had issues with his heart. He had made no issue, no secret that he had issues with his body. Did I think it was going to be that bad? Absolutely not. So I just
what he did.
Oh God, no.
You know, it's just like you're saying. We were very aware that there was ongoing issues. How could there not be? You know, the one thing. Well, there's 2 points. So one point is he never rested on that. He never use that as an excuse. He never used it as a crutch. It was just part of the package, you know. The other part of that is he I was going to say a thought and I can't say it out loud. It's going to fuck me up if I do. I it's just another testament to who this man was, to his core. You know, I said earlier in the show, I said last week, there are a few people on that I believe that are angels that walk among us, and they come across our lives for a variety of reasons. Todd was
definitely
one of those. Absolutely. I was talking to my dad earlier today, and I hadn't seen him for a few days, and I had come in, and he remember, he saw it on Facebook, and he's like, "Is that the guy that did your opening act at your stage shows?" And I'm like, yeah. He also sang the dance at my brother's memorial at the request of Jeff's wife, and I am never going to be able to listen to that song the same again.
Okay.
For another reason,
Right. I did to kind of for my own personal thing to try and cope with it. I did some writing last night, and that song that Sean had posted up, the one with the rain, that he did his first music video.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when he said that to me, and I used that song as inspiration to what I wrote. And I don't think anybody's going to see the light of day with it, but it was really hard to push myself to listen to that out there, and I got through it. But much like when I do that kind of stuff, doesn't see the light of day now. Not right now. Maybe someday down the road, but not right now, because that's my own first. So you guys just lose me.
No, you were cutting in and out a little bit, but we got the majority of what you were saying. Pope, she echoes something that you had said along the music front, and that is, it's going to take you a minute before you're able to listen to, especially things that you guys had collaborated and worked on together.
When he was working on this album, Out of the Shadows, he was just so enthusiastic the whole time working on an album, and the enthusiasm just caught on, and I wanted to be a part of it. We collaborated on a track before. I think it was the song I Don't Mind. I'm not 100% sure, but while I was working on an album, I had lyrics for 2 songs that I shot over to him that really resonated. He wound up turning into something. One of them in particular, a song by the title of Summer Somewhere. I remember, this was before I started, regularly performing vocals on my own music. This was, maybe my first or second attempt at doing that, and I remember being so proud of that song. And then I gave Todd those lyrics, and I heard his version of the song, and it was just one of those moments where you gotta throw your hands up in the air and be like, it's not my song anymore. This belongs to him now. And then one day I am gonna be able to listen to that song again, and I'm sure I'm going to feel a million things, and I'm going to be so thankful to feel all of that. Today is not that fucking day, my man. I don't know when the day is gonna come that I'm gonna be able to like listen to the stuff that we made again. I will be very thankful for that data because some of my, not even some of my favorite shit that I've ever done in music was with Todd. Whether it was the 3 songs of mine that he did or the one of his that I did.
I think why part of the reason why the music aspect is so much deeper and more personal is because, especially with his songs, that was a piece of his heart and soul that he was putting out there. These songs that he had written and recorded, and going the extra mile to make the music videos for, and things of this nature. The one thing he he was one of those people that while he was working on one thing, there's a part of his brain that was already thinking of what the next step was going to be, or what the next project was going to be, or what have you. Not a lot of people can do that. I find myself doing that. Pope, I know you do too, because that's just the way that kind of creative mind works. Yeah. You're able to focus on the here and now, and you're not taking anything away from it. Christ, you could hear it on that album that he had put out, the Out of the Shadows album. There was so much he had put so much of himself in every aspect of the creation of that album. He was so damn proud of it, and I was proud of him because I can remember as a kid realizing what a big deal a new album came out. Now, granted, that was then and this is now, and there's a lot more capabilities and opportunities for people to self-record and self-publish their own shit. But the amount of enthusiasm that he put into that album when I first saw it in its final form, I was just like, man, that took me back to getting excited about buying the latest AC/DC album or the latest Hank Jr. album or whoever the hell I was going after. You feel me?
I mean, that's because Todd did it the right way. He was self-produced. He was doing everything himself, but like he was doing it the old-fashioned way. In his studio, which he built him fucking self, because of course he built his studio himself. Recording all of the tracks either himself or with someone. None of it was like, well, I mean, okay, like obviously synths were electronic, but even then, he was the one actually sitting there playing the fucking piano.
Right.
He did everything the old school way, which I can tell you as someone who does not produce music that way, dude, that takes time and dedication and knowledge and passion and magic and fucking stardust and a sprinkle of fairy blood if you're fortunate enough to get your hands on it. Todd made this shit look so easy. I don't know where he was killing all them fairies, but thank goodness he did it.
He was good at that. A lot of it's so funny because you guys are talking about this. Like, I'm going back in my head to the concert that him and I went to. He had gotten tickets to Don Henley, and he's like, Laura, you want to go see Don Henley? And I was like, is the Pope Catholic? Yes! Why not? Not you, Pope.
What now?
The other Pope.
Oh, okay.
But Don Henley has that same style. Like he had his hands down in everything that he ever did. And he would point that out to me during the concert as we're going along. And his music knowledge was just out of this freaking world. And I'm in radio and I'm sitting here going, where the fuck do you store all this stuff? He had that music knowledge that just drove you crazy. The one thing I regret out of everything, I've been trying to get him radio play down where I work since 36 came out, and I can't get a budge out of our production director, but I'm getting there. I'm going to break this down eventually.
Can I ask? Okay, let's take this on the sidebar because I've always wondered this: what has to happen for his music to be incorporated into your catalog? Like, why can't you
Basically, so I could, in all aspects, be a wild card saying, you know what, screw the boss, I'm doing this myself. Pick a song off of one of his albums, as long as it's radio friendly, which everything he did pretty much was,
right?
and put it in the system and play it. My big thing is that I'd rather do it the proper way and be like, hey, Dale, here is, a couple of these songs by him. I want you to give them a listen. If you like them, cool. I can guarantee you have free use of radio platform. Because Todd was all about that. He wanted his music out there. And I don't know, because we play local artists. I don't get it. We have ADD, who's a different drummer, who's from Adrian. We have Cat Canyon, who's from Tecumseh. We have Rio Doyle, who was on The Voice, but she's from Tecumseh area. We play her. Oh damn it! What the hell's his name? He was Braxton Garza, who was just on The Voice. We have one of his songs played not only on WLEN but on Q95 Country, and I'm sitting here going, there has to be a limit. Like, can I please have one damn song for my best friend to be played on the station? Because I think it would only be fair. And I'm hoping like hell that I can down. I was going to try and do it today, but he decided to have the day off, and I was leaving early anyway. So, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get him on that. I'm going to get him on freaking WLEN if it kills me. I'm going to get him on the Q. I'm sure there's some country version styles of some of his music that I can, we could find, and I'll put it on the Q before I take off the Q here in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, just to throw a song out there, I could hear I Don't Mind the Rain playing on a country radio station.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit bluesy for country, but, it fits the vibe.
No news for you, brother. You ain't country no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well.
No, it's really not. Jesus Christ, if I have to hear Morgan Wallen one more fucking time, I'm going to scream. Listen,
you're gonna alienate a contingent of our listeners. Calm down.
Great artist. I think that when Westwood One constantly feeds you there's like 4 or 5 artists that are just on a. Oh damn it! Hang on. I'm in dead zone area.
The censorship.
No shit.
Oh God's country, damn it!
Oh my gosh!
Scramblers going. No, his audience really is
going to
like this. Stop.
So I think do it, but like you said, but no, having it's the same consistent rotation of artists that I deal with on a country station right now. That sometimes bringing in a little bluesy style music, like that song, I think it would be perfect. I really do.
Look,
and I can actually make that call, and nobody can say otherwise.
What is country music if not music to sadly get drunk to? What is take two in action? What is I Don't Mind the Rain if not a song to get sadly drunk to at the end of a bar? The two fit.
Can't really argue
I got
that.
one right now on Monday.
What is this happy country you speak of? What, fucking bluegrass?
Sugarland.
Yeah. I see Jordan Scavone is watching along with us this evening. Certainly want to send a shout out to him, one of my favorite people. Mark Taylor, the funny man. Mark, if you're still watching this, I want you to call in to the show right now. Go to the link that is in the chat. Click on it. Answer a couple of questions. It's going to bring you to the waiting room. I want you on the show. You want to talk about a dude that's probably got some stories.
Right.
Um,
Oh my God! Every time we were at there at the where I can't. My brain. Sorry, my brain is scattered. I've been up since 5:30.
Stop that.
But they would always be at that little Coney Island right next door.
Y'all.
Every time when we showed up, without fail.
I think they had their own booth there.
I was fairly certain they did.
Yeah, I have no doubt. There was those. I think part of the reason why they changed ownership in that restaurant, I think we were responsible for that partly, because it was a common thing. This was when we were running at the city market, and once the ring was up, myself and the writing crew would go over and have breakfast and go over the show and, make sure all of our bells and whistles were in one place. Well, don't you know, every other goddamn roster member started filtering in to the point to where it was like a bona fide, like I could have had a meeting in there. There was only a handful of people that had migrated over. But you mentioned that, and that brings me, and I don't know why, this is a reoccurring memory that I have with Todd. I went out there for some reason during the middle of the week. I don't know if I had to go talk to Dave about something or what, but I wound up having an impromptu lunch date with Todd and Orville Hewson, and it was just so goddamn random that we were there at the same time. I think we wound up having lunch at the Burger King there on Dort Highway. But it was such an enjoyable time. I couldn't tell you exactly what we talked about. What I can tell you is that was such an enjoyable time with two dudes that I didn't get a lot of one-on-one time with outside the company, that we weren't talking about company shit. It was just, we had to, we were there. We decided to have lunch. And we just enjoyed each other's company, and I really appreciated that. Okay.
The one time I ever saw Orville outside of wrestling
We
was
did
at
not get
the
that
one
often.
Todd show I got to go to. It was me and Bill went out to go see Todd. Orville happened to be there. I remember that night quite fondly. It was a lot of fun.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
I was drunk that night.
For those who are trying to get into the show and it won't let you scroll back to the top, I did just post the link again on the Facebook feed. So I don't know.
I got drunk after Todd's performance because I wanted to remember it. As Todd was playing his encore, I was finishing my first whiskey.
Laura, had you ever seen Todd perform live on stage in like a concert setting?
No, and that's one of the things I regret the most is, like, I never got a chance to come up to see him. Like, he wanted me to so much, and my work schedule and or the piece of shit car that we have wouldn't let us. And I remember I've watched videos. I know that. I have watched like a ton of videos that have been posted either by him or by a couple of his friends, by you, I think there was one. And yeah, it was like so pissed me off that I never got a chance to see him perform live. Except for actually, I think the only time I actually watched him live with the song he sang at Jeff's memorial service.
Yeah. Yeah, I had mentioned that earlier because he had done the opening act for my two stage shows, and then he sang that song at Jeff's memorial service, and another one of those things where he was asked and he accepted without hesitation. You know, um, it's crazy. I can't. I had more than a couple very late night conversations with him in the weeks after everything had happened with Jeff. Fucked him up pretty good, and I even in times like that, you get a sense of a person's energy. You know, the thing that really makes these people tick. And I remember thinking, even in the face of sadness, like he was such a beacon. You know, he made it known, like, I am here for you, whatever you need. Um, we're about to be joined by one of Todd's best friends in the whole world. One of his running buddies, I guess you could say, known as the
I
Funny Man. Mark Taylor has joined us. Mark, good evening to you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time out and being a part of this very special episode of the flagship show. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Everything going okay?
Yes, sir. Everything's fine.
I have to tell you, Mark, when I heard the news last week, or just a couple days ago, a number of thoughts went through my mind, in terms of the impact that, news like this is going to create. You were one of those people that I thought about. And because I know you and Todd go back a ways, and you guys work together on a musical level, but more importantly, I think it's safe to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were damn near best friends, if not the absolute best friends, brothers from other mothers,
Yeah.
if you will. So kind of talk me through, man. How did you and Todd meet?
We met through high school, and we went through like just meet each other, and we'd hang out and go over to his house and hang out and do good stuff. Like hang out with him and watch wrestling sometimes, and you know, it it it's hard, but
You were with him, through high school. You guys collaborated in music projects. I know he was a big advocate for your aspiring comedy career. Um, Kind of talk me through, when you think of Todd, what's the first few things that come to your mind? Like how close were you guys? As thick as thieves, I would imagine, because I was pulling some pictures from Facebook, and I wanted to be respectful. Obviously, I didn't pull pictures of his kids or anything, just because I didn't have that kind of permission. You know what I mean? But for you though, you're all over the place. You were at his art shows, you were at his concerts, you were, at MWO shows. Talk me through what kind of enthusiasm or what kind of preparation Todd would go through preparing for any kind of public presentation, because you were there with him for a lot of this.
yes, for the Comic Cons, what he would do is like I'd be at his house, and we'd get all the stuff ready, and then we go to the Comic Cons, and then I help him set up stuff, and then we get to meander right after. Um, Music wise, I play drums on a keyboard, and that's how the thing actually started. Because he heard me one time playing drums on a keyboard,
Okay.
and he's like, "All right, I need him to be my backup person to, play drums and that." So I figured, why not? It. Um, and we do stuff together, like go to Sagano's, like I was saying a while earlier on another stream. Um, we go to Guitar Center sometimes. Uh, it it's hard to lose somebody, and he was an inspiration to me, and I think that there's a little bit of Todd in all of us, and you know,
No, I understand that, man. And you said something kind of poignant there. There's a little bit of Todd in all of us. And I would suggest that if it is something that, when you're putting yourself out there, when you are looking to go outside the box, when you're rolling the dice on yourself, I know as far, with things that I have done, I have. So I'm trying to get this link posted back on the thing, and it won't let me. Jordan's having issues getting in, and it won't let me select that. But
technology strikes the fuck again.
I knew it was too good to be true. They just have a flawless.
I will say from personal experience, Mr. Scavone, if you are not trying to use Chrome or Internet Explorer, I think was the other one that worked well with Riverside, give one of those a shot. If you're giving those a shot and they're giving you problems, look, man, I'm just the slapnut that's here.
But back to our point. I know I have leaned into Todd quite a bit when I needed to be motivated, or I needed to be inspired, regardless of what it was I was working on. Whenever I felt like I can't do this anymore, or I don't want to do this, or this and the other thing, I would think of him and be like, who the hell am I to be pissing and moaning about anything? In the grand scheme of things, it's an inconvenience at best. So it was, it's one of the reasons why Todd came across our radar in the manner that he did. You talk about friend, Mark, let's focus on this. Talk to me a little bit about, what kind of friend Todd was to you, because aside from being a part of a band or, performing musically or in the wrestling space or in podcasting, talk to me about what kind of friend Todd was with you, for you, to you.
Todd was very inspirational, and he was a good friend of mine. I know him like from school, as I said before, and a well-rounded guy, and he will be missed.
Well, he certainly will. I certainly appreciate you taking time out here tonight to jump on here and be a part of the show. He certainly is going to be missed. He made his impressions on everybody that knew him. It's doesn't matter what realm. People are going to remember Todd for a long, long time. Mark Taylor, I certainly appreciate you being on the show, my friend. And with that, we're going to run I don't know, hang on a second. something funky's happening. Technology is starting to be funny here, Pope.
Fucking technology.
Oh,
See, because of this, I'm gonna go and headbutt a printer tonight.
all right. Well, with that, okay, Mark, we appreciate you being on the show, my friend. We will talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
You have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you for letting me be on the show.
Absolutely, anytime.
You have a good one, Funny Man. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, Pope. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you, bud.
Good night.
Good night, pal. All right, Pope. We're going to try to get Jordan in on this.
I believe in us.
It
Can I
just
say real quickly that Mark Funny Man Taylor is genuinely one of my favorite people in the world.
is he really now?
Oh, dude, he is a constant figure in my Twitch chat. He is single-handedly the reason that my passion for Supermarket Sweep was reignited. Funny Man is just such a good guy. I have so much love and appreciation for him.
He is. He's something else. He makes me chuckle. Jordan, I am trying to get this link to post so that you can get on the show. It just will not let me. I'm going to try this again. Hang on. It can't go wrong if it's live. Oh, Pope did it.
I'm useful. I'm useful.
About time you earned your keep.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay. Well, if anybody else has a story to share, a favorite memory, a favorite story of your time with Todd, we would love to hear it. Be a part of the conversation. Pope just hit the link up on the live chat feed there, so click on that, answer a couple of questions, and they'll should let you into the virtual waiting room. As we try to get Jordan Scavone on here, Pope, we're going to run a quick timeout. More of the Clouse of the Heart podcast is right after this.
In the ring or behind the scenes, go beyond the headlines of professional wrestling's biggest stars and events. Every other week, tune in and be a part of the conversation as the Fatal 4-Way breaks it all down. Tune in to ONTV's Facebook page for the Fatal 4-Way, Michigan's only call and pro wrestling talk show. Tag into the action with the Fatal 4-Way exclusively on ONTV as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network.
And welcome back to the show. A very special edition of the Clouse of the Heart podcast. So we are live streaming this across 3 platforms here on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Riverside.fm. Special thanks goes out to Laura Phoenix or Rakowski and Mark Taylor for coming on the show a little bit ago, sharing their thoughts, their memories of Todd. It's cool, Pope. I'll be joined, of course, by my co-host over on the Potato Pals perspective, making a special appearance here on the flagship show, one Pope Brandon Brownson.
Zeltron 5.
Remember Zeltron 5, which is a fun t-shirt that you can get over at the PFC store, pfcstore.printify.me, your official online merchandise headquarters of the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network. Can't give me
you were safe for the cheap plug. Go fuck yourselves.
You cannot give me an opening like that and not expect me to drive a dump truck through it.
No, dude, I fully understand. You know, when we're in the middle of cheap plugs, how can I expect you not to plug the merch shop? That'd be like me not plugging twitch.tv/Pope Brandon Bronson or Pope Brandon Bronson on Spotify. It's just not gonna happen, brother.
No, I totally understand that. And I
But
totally understand
I do not mind RC Cola. I enjoy a cheap pop.
that. Listen, RC Cola's the drizzling shits, if I can be honest with you.
Yeah, but it works for that joke. I actually have a friend whose favorite cola is RC Cola. I'm not going to go that far in the weeds with it. I will publicly shame him here for that. I won't name him, but he'll eventually hear this and he'll know.
Stand by, Pope. I'm going to do something real quick in an effort to get Jordan on here. Because I really want to talk to him.
Oh, absolutely.
Jordan Scavone is another one of those guys that I've got all the time in the world for. Any day of the week and twice on Sunday. That is $1 million dude. All right, let me copy this one more time. Jordan, if you are listening.
Since you were using the app, Jordan, it might be possible that you might need to grab the Riverside app. That might be, this is just me throwing shit out there.
Jordan, I also just sent it to your messenger. So there's a couple of different options here to try to get you on here.
Yeah, probably use mine as a last resort.
Yeah, fuck Pope. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway.
Please fuck Pope. He's so lonely.
Looks like Ray Jackson is on here. Always good to hear from Ray. Ray reached out to me this week too. You know, that's the other thing, Pope. You know, when we have things like this, they don't happen often. You know, when we have a member of the MWO family pass away, it does not happen often. But when it does, man, it's it really restores that sense of family. You know, because a lot of us spent a lot of time together over the years. You know. And when you lose a member of the family, especially somebody that made the kind of impact that Todd did, you know, they reach out. You know, even if we hadn't heard from one another in quite some time, they reach out just to see how I'm doing, and then I'll do the same, how they're doing. And finally, joining us here on the PFC Entertainment Network, Jordan Scavone has joined us. Hi, pal.
How do I sound? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine, and you sound like $1 million, my friend.
Well, I don't know. I just ring-announced an entire show, so I'm sure I sound a little scratchy.
Knowing what that's like, you sound great right now, dude.
100%.
Thanks. I had a medicine ball from Starbucks before the show. That really helps.
It sounds like it worked wonders, my boy.
Delicious.
Well,
honey citrus mint. Cannot recommend it more.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
That really does too. It really does. Well, Jordan, tonight we've been sitting here tonight remembering Todd Gilbert and just what an incredible person he was. What an incredibly talented individual in multiple worlds of entertainment, wrestling, and obviously music. His art projects that he was very good at. When you think about Todd, what's the first few things that pop in your mind, and what are some of your favorite memories with him?
So many different things. I mean, he's someone that as soon as the album, Pope, you'll correct me, was it 36? Is that the name of the album?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as soon as that dropped, the next show I saw him at, I picked up my copy, and I think it was around that same time that one of my books came out, and we did like an exchange where he grabbed one of my books, and he was always really supportive there. When my novel came out, he was one of the first people that I knew that got it and read it. and talked about it. And it's such a supportive dude. And then I know I helped him get into we were both at Midland Mall Comic Con one year. So that was cool to get to see him in that element versus the in-ring element where I would usually see him. And just the amount of people who walked by at that show with his art was awesome.
That's one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is his artistic talents. I have several things here that he made for me. One of which is this drawing that he did of my brother. And he actually had copies of it made for various members of my family. And it's one of my favorite pieces. He also painted me a picture of the Undertaker, and that is one of my favorite things that I have. When I'm able to put my Undertaker shit up, that was very prominently displayed. I don't know, man. Like we spent a lot of time talking about the music aspect. We spent a lot of time talking about him in the MWO and IWE. But his art is, really doesn't get enough attention. Earlier in the show, actually, I think I can pull it back up. I wanted to showcase some of that with some of the examples. I think this is at one of these art shows.
I believe that was at Midland Mall Comic Con.
Okay.
Awesome.
So he had a very unique way of putting his talents out there in an artistic, realm, and I always appreciated that. It took me a minute. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at here? But when he did this piece of with my brother, I was just like, holy shit! This is something different, something special. And I don't know, it's just something that really needs to be spotlighted more, because he had high goals for that realm too. That's the other thing, man. And you talk about goals; they didn't matter what he was involved in. He was shooting for the moon, and nothing was going to stop him.
One of my favorite things about Todd's story is that he did have moments where he got just glowing recognition from the people who really meant a lot to him. He did a cover of Judas by Fozzy that Chris Jericho wound up retweeting. But in regards to art, the most fucking excited I have ever seen Todd get about anything. He did an art piece where he drew all of the major characters from the Clerks movie, like Jay and Silent Bob and Randall and Rosario Dawkins, I can never remember what her fucking last name is.
Dawson, yeah.
Okay, Rosario Dawson actually liked it and retweeted it and had really nice things to say about it. And my dude, you would think that Santa Claus just walked up to an 8-year-old and gave him a button that would take him to the North Pole whenever he wanted. This is the happiest I have talked to men right after having sex who were less excited than Todd was that this had just happened. And I'm just.
Well, and then he did that Rockstar piece too, and wasn't one of the people from that. I want to say it was a member of KISS.
I think he had a member of KISS. I want to say that Dave Grohl might have.
It might have been Dave. Yeah, Dave Grohl. I think there might have been 2 or 3 people, because he did that whole rock print where it was a whole bunch of different rock stars, right?
He definitely got a little bit of recognition on Twitter from people who he had done. I don't remember that piece exactly. I remember that he had done a solo Dave Grohl. I almost said Dave Mustaine. That would have been amazing. I'm trying to remember exactly. He got recognized by a few people, which was huge. If there was a guy who fucking deserved it, it was Todd Gilbert.
100%.
Yeah. The art style, like what I always liked about it, like you said, Jason, like you look at it and you're like, oh, 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 and it's like a stages of looking at it where you look what you're looking at, you realize what you're looking at, and then like you just really see how good it is.
Yeah.
And it stood out, and especially at a place like the Comic-Con, and I think that's why he sold pretty well while he was there, is that, it didn't look like anyone else's art. It was its own style. It was his style that really stuck out, which just made it extra cool.
Todd, do a T.
100%. It's funny. We don't really think about it in that aspect until we sit down, start talking about, start reminiscing, start dialing into what made him so special, and you're starting to see a common thread, regardless of what the topic is, regardless of what it is that we're breaking down or whatever. There is a thread of this dude made an impact, not for any other reason than because of the person he fundamentally was. He was fundamentally a good dude, and he impacted so many people, did everything he could to entertain people, really put his shit out there. Jordan, is there, I know you guys really worked with each other, primarily in the wrestling space, but is there a favorite memory or a favorite story that you have with Todd in your time with him?
My favorite Todd thing, and it was when I was commentating and he was managing, and my commentary persona was pseudo heel, and all the other heels, would always like pseudo heel. Yeah, well, I'm always overweight. The other heels would always if I said something, if I cheered those heels or something, they'd always, respond well. Todd wouldn't. I could never get a handshake or a fist bump or a high five from Simon Page. He would always leave me hanging, and every time it just made me smile, even though I wasn't allowed to smile because I had to be mad at him. But it would get me every single time. He'd walk over to the table and think, "Oh, it's great to see you, Mr. Page," and I'd put the hand out, and he would go to put the hand out and then do the hair flip, which he didn't even have hair, so it made it even better. Like, every time, and just not a single time would he commit to it, and it was great. And I think he laughed at me when I got thrown out of the ring during my bunkhouse brawl appearance. I think I got tossed out, and then he peeked around the corner and just pointed and laughed at me, which was great.
On a related note to that, on the stream I was in chat for earlier, someone had brought up that the two greatest feelings in the world were when you got Todd to laugh at one of your jokes, or when you got Todd to boo at one of your jokes. And I had added the caveat that both of those are great. The greatest feeling ever was when you got Todd to do both with the same joke. Because he had a distinct laugh when he was about to boo you. The laugh just screamed, "I am upset that I find this funny. And I will be expressing so very soon after." It was beautiful.
I love that so much. I really do. We've sat here for a couple of hours now and talked about what a great guy he was, what an impact he made. We've shared these different memories, and it's still, Jordan, I would imagine you would echo the sentiment that like none of this seems real. We're still trying to process everything. Um, do you remember the last conversation you had with him? Was it at the Comic-Con, or was it more recently?
That was probably the last in-person one. But we messaged fairly regularly, checking in, and he would post a cool art thing, or he'd post about the tour or something, or a new song, and I'd shoot him like, "Oh, that great piece, man!" Or I know he posted, he made himself in 225, which I need to go down. I still have to download it. I haven't played since he posted it. I was shouting, dude, he was so good at the faces, the face scans when he would make his characters. I was like,
Yeah.
I messaged him, dude, let's just. But that, and I always knew if I had an announcement, like if I dropped a new book or a picture of my kid doing something, that message would always roll in, within a week of it, because social media, you never know when things show up, but new thing looks great, man. Glad you're still doing stuff. And it was that kind of just like little support that means so much, because like
Absolutely.
we wouldn't comment on each other's stuff all the time, but when it did, it felt important. You came into that important moment. New song coming out, new story coming out. That new, you just moved. Awesome. Glad you got that new place. I knew you were trying to get one or something like that. And it's those little moments that are just, won't be there, and it sucks.
Yeah.
That's a common thread between the three of us on here now and with Todd, because each one of us have explored other endeavors of opportunity that taps into our creative process in some degree of entertainment. And it takes people that are cut from this kind of cloth that really appreciate that little nuance of support that Pope you talked about earlier and Jordan just reiterated. And it is so incredibly important. And people like us, it hits different with us. And knowing that that's not going to be a thing now, that is a pretty damn bitter pill to swallow on a whole different level. And it's going to be that reminder down the road, like, oh my God, this is what real life is, because we would have expected or kind of low-key waited for Todd's comment, his word of encouragement, his attaboy, his whatever the hell, and that's going to be one of the things I know I'm going to miss the most is
Absolutely.
that fundamental show of support. So that's going to be difficult when that time comes. From my perspective, Pope, I know you, and Jordan, you just said it, so I know you're going to be feeling that too.
Oh yeah, releasing that first album without Todd around is gonna be fucking weird. Because I think every album I've made since meeting the guy, I've had at least one track that I've either wanted his thoughts on, or I was just excited to show off. That's not going to be a fun moment. Fuck.
No, man, but we can also take that opportunity and, regardless of what you may or may not believe in, you just, in one way or the other, just thank him for being such a presence in our lives, and what an absolute blessing that he was. It's a lot of people have taken that for granted, and unfortunately they found out today, or this last week, how much of that they really did take for granted. That's why I always say, man, tomorrow is never guaranteed. You got to maximize your minutes. And you want to talk about a dude that maximized every single minute that he got.
Oh God,
Was
yeah.
Todd Gilbert.
Big facts.
Um,
And that level of like quality of everything, like I hope you do it too, because you have that uniqueness to you, where it's just like the second I know you're doing some type of endeavor, and I'd be like, really, you're gonna do that? But then you do it and knock it out of the park. And he was the same way. Like when he first started, like, I think I'm gonna try and do some art. I was like, really, Todd's gonna do art now? Like, yeah, he's a great singer and he's super charismatic. I'm like, you're gonna do art now? And then he posts his first piece. I was like, yeah, of course you're doing art now. Like, it's just like,
Yup.
and yeah, it was literally like anything he put his finger in, he did it in only how he could, and it shone through.
Fuck you, I'll have twins. Todd Gilbert in a nutshell.
yeah, can't have kids? Fuck you, I'll have twins. I'm going to remember. I low key want to put that on a T-shirt, if I can be honest with you. So, it blows my mind that this is where we're at, but like, it takes something like this to get the three of us on a call at one time. And Pope and I, we
in the car driving home.
right, but that's the kind of impact that he had on our lives, to where we're going to set aside some time on a Saturday night to come on the air live and do this. You are on your way back from a wrestling show, having worked the entire show, driving home as we're doing this, just to put out your 2 cents, your thoughts, your feelings on everything. He's gonna be missed for by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, and I'm very privileged to have been a small part of his life. It would be real easy for me to get sucked down a rabbit hole of overwhelming sadness when I think about what he was on. He was on this very program, a month or two ago, talking about this tour he was fixing to embark on, and how excited he was about it. And then while all that was happening, he got into this new studio setting, and then he was able to get into his own apartment. And I was just so damn happy for him. I'm like, man, finally things are trending in the right direction for him, and it just, this is what puts shit in perspective. This is where we are reminded just how truly fragile life is. So, Jordan, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. Is there anything else you would like to throw out there before we start to wind this show down?
I think just that with him specifically, I love the fact that I can still hear him by opening a song. I think after this, and I thought about it, I think everyone, it doesn't matter if you can sing or not, everyone should record themselves singing a song, so that when it does happen, everyone else will have that. I think that's something everyone should do.
That's a tremendous idea and thought process. Now, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, I've got more than a few hundred hours worth of audio content anybody can go back and listen to and butcher the shit out of, but be that as it may.
I'm the guy who wrote Orange You Have Farmer Jack. Enough said.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's go ahead and put a bow on this episode. Jordan, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on here, taking the time. Also, wanted to send our thoughts and appreciation to Mark and Laura for coming on. Pope Brandon Brownson, always a pleasure, my friend, and we're going to get the Potato Pals perspective back on the rails here sooner rather than later. With that, we appreciate everybody that tuned in live tonight and those who are tuning in on the RSS feed during the regular scheduled drop, which is Tuesday at midnight. So if you missed any part of this, it will be available beginning at midnight on Tuesday morning across the fine platforms that carry the PFC Entertainment Network, including Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. For Jordan Scavone, for the incomparable Pope Brandon Brownson, I'm Jason Clouse. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you next week right here on the Clouse to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network.